Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Poodle back with another CFB 25 video, guys. Today I'm going to be giving you an updated top 10 worst things to be doing in Dynasty mode. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on that noti bell so you never miss another upload. And can we get 500 likes in this video? You guys got 1,000 on the other one, which was crazy. Thank you for that. Can we get 500 on this one? And of course, comment down below. I mean, I give you 10, there's probably 100. Comment down below, create your own list. Can you guys give me your top 5? What are your top 5 worst things that you're seeing in your online leagues, your offline leagues, things you're doing, things your league members are doing? Give me 5 down below. And guys, my favorite one, of course, is going to be number 1, so stay tuned to the end so you don't miss it and don't skip to it. And if you haven't already, check out Underdog, guys. Holiday season's coming, Thanksgiving, Christmas, promos are going crazy. You're not going to want to miss it. And of course, make sure you always use my code to get the bonus when you deposit your money, as well as the 0.5 pick. Enjoy. My link will be down below in the description, as well as the comments. So guys, starting with number 1 is bringing in 1 to 2 star players. I see people like, oh, I'm building from the trenches with 2 stars. You don't need to go that low. You don't need to get 1 stars or 2 stars. I promise you, if you're in a league, online or offline, I'd say 85 to 95% of the people are probably chasing the 5 stars and the 4 stars. Now, if you're in a league where it's all 1-star teams, obviously that changes things. But for the most part, most leagues are chasing 5 and 4 star in their initial recruiting run. Then they come back around to the 3 stars and the back half 4 stars on like that week 4 or 5, and they start to lose some people. Stop looking at 1 stars. I can't stress this enough how they don't help you. Now you might be saying, but I'm a low school. They have horrible overalls. They have low ceilings. They're awful. There's really no reason to bring them in at all. All it does is waste a spot in your roster, and you'll have to cut guys you've developed for them. Do not bring in 1 stars or 2 stars. I see this a lot. Even 3 stars are iffy. If you're like a 3-star to 5-star program, I'm barely bringing in any 3 stars. If you're a 1 to 3 star program, you can focus on the 3 stars, but stop going 1 or 2. There's really no reason for it. Focus on, you'll notice, and one of the best things you can do as a low star school, like I always tell you, is filter by offers. Give everyone that first week to start placing their offers and just kind of sit in the shadows. Still make offers, but wait, I would say close to advance. Around advance, load up your game, like maybe an hour before, and hit X on this, filter by offers. You'll notice that a lot of 4 stars go unoffered. Some might be bust, but they mostly go unoffered because a lot of people are focusing on 5s and like the green gem 4 stars, at which point you can start offering them and kind of sneaking into these battles. And then of course 3 stars, you can do the same thing. Plus you could probably be more competitive with them, but stop offering 1 and 2 stars. Second one, not instantly going for elite recruiter. So a lot of people I see are like, oh, I can't get elite recruiter. I'm a low school. I don't bring in enough 5 stars. I only bring in 4 stars. I only bring in 3 stars. Elite recruiter isn't exactly about the players you bring in. It's more quantity over quality. You can brute and force your way through this, or you can do it with quality. Either one works. So for instance, I've had classes with 15 5 stars. I easily come in first. That's rare, but it happens. But more likely, the majority of the top 5 finishes, right? You need 2 top 5 finishes to unlock this. The majority I see are from quantity. So with that being said, what I recommend doing right away when you build a new coach, or really the first 2 seasons of any build, the first thing you want to do is go for this. And it's so easy to do. I've seen it all the time. You can like see in your league when someone's doing it. Go to your top classes and you'll notice the top guys probably have about 17 players, 18 players. And then there's like 1 or 2 that have like 35 guys. Just brute your way through. The first 2 seasons is the best time to do this. Now I say the first 2 because if you wait till seasons 4 and 5, you will have brought in quality players. You will have players that you're attached to. You will have gotten rid of all that trash on your team that you've been trying to kick out. So now it's going to be harder because if you bring in 35 guys, you probably got to cut about 18 of them of your current class. So make sure you are doing that right away, because in the first 2 seasons, there's a backup kicker you don't want. There's a backup quarterback you don't want. There's a bum halfback you don't want. There's like 2 centers you don't like. There's so many bum players in your team when you first start that you're like, yeah, I can cut scraps. Sign 35 players, no matter what. If you got to finish it up in the transfer portal, you can do that too. Sign 35 players, first 2 seasons, make some cuts on the bums, let those players grow. You can cut them later as well. Like by season 3 or 4, you can start cutting those guys. But either way, get your elite recruiter, because the longer you wait for it, the longer you're going to hurt your program. Next biggest one, and this one bothers me because I hear it being done by a lot of people, and I try not to say anything because like obviously I want to win recruits. Allocate all of your hours. I see this in my comments too, and those are the people I help, of course. It's more in my league that I don't. But like right here, I'll see this. Some guy will be right here, and I'll see him make an offer. He's all the way down the list, like on 5, and he'll go in there and do this, and only send 50. Then come here and be like, okay, it's pretty close here. I can just send maybe this to preserve some hours. They'll send like, they won't send all their hours, and they'll try to go after all these top recruits. And you'll hear them say like, yeah, I'm only sending 40 for that guy, or I'm only sending 40 because I also want to get a 4-star. Worst thing you could do. You'll get my tip later. We'll kind of tie this all together. Do not do everything half-ass. Don't recruit half-ass. Don't half-ass your hour allocation. You got to go. This game is all or nothing. You go all in on recruiting. You're not going to win because there's 100 other teams going after these players. If you're not sending full hours, someone else is. Always send all available hours on a player. Now, there's one caveat to this. Let's say you have 80 hours on a player. You can get 80 hours, and you only send 75, and you have a huge lead. I'm not opposed. There's been times where the math works out to where I have 45 hours left, and I have 80 on a guy, and I want to send a guy, I send the house at 50, but I'm short 5 hours, and I don't want to send like the other ones. So what I'll do is I'll take a 5 off of an 80 guy and toss it on the 45 to get the 50, but that's only if I have a huge lead or like no one else is fighting for that guy and I know I'm going to win it. That's the only time, but always send full hours. It's better to send 80 to 10 5-stars and bring in 10 5-stars than to send 65 to each, compete for 16 5-stars and only bring in 4. You get what I'm saying? So like when you spread it out over 20 players, you can't even get all 20. You're not going to win them all. You'll probably only win like 5 of them when you spread it out like that. You're better off to just cut your list down. So always prioritize cutting your list down and sending all the hours. The next thing is not hard selling as soon as possible. I can't believe I still have to say this, but I see so many people comment, you shouldn't be hard selling right away. You should save it. Save your hard sell. I feel like hard selling early doesn't give you as much value. Or I see people saying, instead of hard selling, I think it's better to do all of the top ones here. Like it's better to just send the house. The better than sending the house is social media, DM player, and friends and family. Send the 40. It's the same as hard sell, but it gives you more green arrows. Stop it. You hard sell as soon as possible. If you could do it with one motivation key, right here, this guy starts with proximity to home and program tradition. If you could hard sell now, which is very unlikely, but if you could hard sell now, go for it. It's basically impossible, by the way, unless it's a one-off of one of them, but it's very unlikely. But if you can, always hard sell as early as possible. This should be the first thing you do. And then you say, okay, I hard sold. I can take it off now and go back to send the house. No. Once you hard sell, you keep it on. I can't believe I'm still saying this, but a lot of people still comment it. And I'm also keeping in mind it's holiday season. People are now getting the game for the first time. People got to still learn. The next one is not redshirting your players. Again, there's like one caveat. I'm going to start with it. There is a caveat where not redshirting makes sense. So Garrett Nussmeier, 85 overall, he's not mobile. So for me, for instance, I like a mobile quarterback. I can't play with a statue like this. If I bring in a freshman that's like a 77 to 81 overall mobile quarterback, I'm probably going to start him as a true freshman right off rip. But then the second quarterback switch around like year 3, year 4, I'm going to redshirt the next one because I now have the other guy. So there are caveats where you may have a guy that's absolutely awful at your current position and you need a different player in there. He's too slow. He's not getting the job done. But guys, true freshmen don't play that well. You go ahead in like a competitive league and try to start true freshmen on the defensive line or on the offensive line. They get killed like you've never seen before. Redshirt them. Redshirting's not, a silver bullet. You're not going to have these guys who go up 10 overalls in a redshirt. It happens, but it's not always. What it does is it gives them an extra offseason to grow. It lets players get drafted. It lets you focus on other players to get them drafted, plus getting them the XP bonus, and sometimes you get crazy bonuses, but it's always worth it. Worst case, you get 1 overall. Best case, you get like 5 to 10. It happens. So make sure that you are redshirting your players, and don't just keep starting players as true freshmen. They're not going to play that well, and honestly, if their depth trait's not elite, you may not be making much of a benefit anyways by starting them early. The next one's going to be forgetting to switch positions for build advantages. So I always go through this, and I've talked to some people about this. You want to make sure you're always switching players into positions where they're most effective. And I'll explain what I mean to you. So I always go back to Deshaun Womack, my defensive tackle or my end for LSU. He's a power rusher that's built like a run stopper end, like a Jeffrey Simmons type. He's 79 speed, 80 excel, 86 strength, 92 power move, and 83 block shed. By year 2, he always ends up with like crazy block shed, and you start to quickly realize that he's not an elite pass rusher. But if you change him to DT, he's better suited there. And there's other examples of this. You ever have a bad tackle that's like pretty good at blocking but not a high overall? You can switch a bad tackle, like an 80 overall tackle, to tight end as a blocking archetype, and they could be a 90 overall. I've seen it because blocking is the biggest indicative rating for a blocking tight end, and left tackle will start off as an elite blocker for a tight end, even if they're bad, right? If they're in the 80s for blocking like 84 and 81 right there, they will be an elite blocking tight end. They'll get purple abilities. So there's situations where you have these backup tackles, you're like, yeah, he'll never start over Campbell. Or you have 2 freshmen, you're like, yeah, this is the better one, this guy may never start. Give it a year or 2, switch them to blocking tight end. Then you could play them on run plays, and you could bring them in, and they're going to play like elite tackles on run plays. You can also keep them in as an extra blocker. That's another situation of putting players where they're better. There's also wide receivers who are an elite open field runners. There's quarterbacks, elite open field runners, but they're not accurate or they're not great catchers. Put them at running back. But more importantly, you're going to notice it, I think, for me on the offensive line, tight end, and most importantly on the defensive side. you're going to see very quickly there's outside linebackers that, like Harold Perkins, for instance, but again, I don't recommend changing current day players. Harold Perkins is a guy that can easily be the best pass rusher in the game. They have him as a pass coverage guy. Again, it breaks him when you switch him, but you're going to have freshmen or recruits that are great pass rushers. You're going to find a middle linebacker, and these always happen, where they have really good finesse move and they're super fast and they're tall, but they're pass coverage or run stopper. Just change them to an edge. So just keep that in mind when playing. There are players that are better suited to different positions, and it actually will not only increase their overall lot and help your team out, they'll play better, and they'll get a lot of great abilities because in that position, they're better off. Next one is switching players for draft day bonuses. Like I've always said, guys, if you haven't seen my videos, Motivator Tier 1 draft bonus, where you get players rounds 1 through 3 get a big bonus in XP. And in general, players that get drafted significantly help the players behind them in the depth chart. So for instance, when Harold Perkins gets drafted, Singleton always gets a big boost. He always ends up being one of my 95 overall players, and I'm almost positive it's because of Harold Perkins being a first ballot first rounder. Like he's like a shoo-in for top 10 every time. So with that being said, you want to get players behind these guys. And now why do I say that? So in my other league, I had a situation where I had a 96 overall edge rusher at left outside linebacker. He was elite. He was going first round, but I had no one behind him on the depth chart. I had recruited no outside linebackers, but I had a bunch of middle linebackers and I had a bunch of right outside linebackers. So I didn't do this in that league, but what you should do in your league, if you're allowed, is going to be switch your right outside linebackers near the end of the season or whenever you can, or pre-plan it. Let's say you get to the position change phase and you know that next year Harold Perkins, okay, he's surviving this year, he's going to be a first rounder next year. Make sure to switch your right outside linebackers to your left outside linebacker spots so that when Harold Perkins gets drafted first, they go up. Either way, you can play them interchangeably at backer. Same thing with ends. If you know that you're about to have Womack go first round, make sure to switch some of your freshman ends that are down here over to right end. And of course, be careful with modern day players. Be careful when switching, as always. That's an obvious disclaimer. But make sure you're switching so they get the draft bonus. Nothing's worse than getting a first round. It doesn't get any. They don't give XP to anyone. No one's behind them. Should it be the whole position group? Probably, but it's not. Next one is not building up players that are close to being drafted. A great example of this is Kyron Lacey. So in my first build, I didn't really want to use him much because I was like, he's only an 87. He's a senior. He's leaving soon. I had like that Madden perspective. I should just be focusing on my future and not on my current players. Since I've learned about the draft day bonus, I've now learned that how drafting works and how that bonus works. So Kyron Lacey, as it stands, won't be drafted in the first 3 rounds. He's only an 87 overall, but he's uncapped, right? All of his caps are open. He can easily still grow, and they're only 5, 6, 6. He can easily get up a few overalls just a season, and he's an impact dev. It's good enough, right? If you have a great senior season with Kyron Lacey and you put up a lot of points with him, he will probably get up to a 90, 91 overall rather simply because these are only 5. You could basically upgrade all of these right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 that could be upgraded with 20 skill points. That would get him to about a 90, 91 overall, which will get him into that top 4 round, maybe top 3 round range, which will give you a draft day bonus when he's drafted and give guys like Jelani Watkins, a good upgrade. It'll give guys like Turner a good upgrade, Samson a good upgrade, and they get extra XP. So remember, don't give up on players when they're close to being drafted. I do this all the time. I have an 89 overall player, like all he needs, or a 90 overall player, all they need is like 1 or 2 overalls to be first rounders, and I give up on them because I focus on the future. Don't keep doing that. So the last 2 are the most important and kind of go in tandem, but let's start with number 2 here on the list, which is wasting points on coach abilities. I did make a video going over the best coach build. Make sure you do check that out. It should have came out about a week or so ago. But stop wasting points. If you understood how important points are in this game, coaching points are one of the most important things in this game. I see so many people wasting them, like unlocking CEO for 30. That's 30 points. 30 points, just so we're clear, is, you know how many recruiting packages it is? You could do this entire quarterback set for 20. You could do this one and this half of this one for 30. That's just to unlock CEO. Then let's say you go into it and you buy something dumb, like home away from home, 18. And you're not even sure if these work, right? They're not even like tested to be like, wow, they really work. 18. You could finish all of those 2 recruiting ones basically and a half for that amount of points. So you do a few dumb packages, you could finish all of recruiter for a few dumb packages. I know you get like 490, but it goes very quickly, especially when you're trying to capitalize. Wasting points on coaching packages is so incredibly volatile. Like, just stop doing it. Do math. Be careful. Watch some videos before using your coaching points. And I did make a video going over what I think you should do to fix that issue if you've already done it. So make sure you check that out. And the last one is trying to be the jack of all trades. This is my best one, my best tip in CFB. And this is a common thing that people do. And it makes sense. It's a real life thing. So I know a lot of people who say, I half filled out recruiter, I half filled out motivator, I half filled out talent developer, I added some program builder. People are trying to be the jack of all trades. But what you don't realize is 1, 2, or 3 users in your league will go all or nothing approach. They'll max out recruiter. So basically what that means is you're not going to beat them on recruits. And then if there's 2 or 3, you may never get a 5-star again. They may basically monopolize 90% of the 5-stars in your league because they optimized their packages. And then the next part to this is your coordinators. So another thing I see people do is, okay, so my head coach, I'm going to go motivator and the CEO program builder stuff. And then for my coordinators, I'll get recruiting coordinators. That's fine. But remember, all the bonuses stack. So you still won't be the best recruiter because you're short. And honestly, remember this, and this is one of the most important things when being the jack of all trades or just in general, your head coach is forever. He's here, he stays. Their coordinators go. So if you rely on recruiting coordinators, every time they get fired or they quit or they go to the NFL or they move on, you lose your recruiting until you get new ones, if they're even good, and then they might have to be built up. So what you want to do is get your basis foundations, which is what my coaching build about. Make sure to check that out on my other video, is get your foundational pieces that you have every single season, no matter what, and then have your coordinators complement that, you know, and bolster that by going in and getting coaches. So make sure your coordinators do exactly what your head coach does. If you have a coach that's a max recruiter and motivator, make sure you're getting recruits that skew in that direction, or coordinators. Make sure you're doing that. So this guy right here, if you have these 3, that works, right? If you have blue, red, and yellow as your main trees, that works. Now, if you had a guy that just skewed toward tactician, but you're a recruiter motivator coach, you're not complimenting, you're being the jack of all trades. That does not help. You won't be the best builder. You won't be the best recruiter. You won't be the best game day booster. You want to be the best at something. That is how CFB works. Do not be the jack of all trades. If you guys have any questions, comment down below. Make sure to leave your top 5 biggest mistakes in the game down below and let me know what you think they are. And of course, can we get 500 likes in this video? Subscribe if you're new. And if you haven't already, check out Underdog. My link will be down below in the description. I'm out. Peace.